Hello, good evening. It's News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesa Wekanda. I am Portia Gabo.
Hello, good evening to you. I am Noble Crosby and these are the headlines of the bulletin this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
EcoBank.
Tonight, transport unions suspend 30% fare hike after talks as they warn there could be increases if fuel prices rise further.
And also coming up tonight, Ghana faces hepatitis B challenge with birth dose vaccine absent from routine immunization schedule, threatening thousands of newborns nationwide today.
5 members of parliament reintroduce bill seeking to amend Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29 to prohibit individuals from declaring, accusing, naming or labeling another person as a witch.
Later in business news, Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance warns of political risk to Ghana's post-IMF 36-month policy coordination instruments deal.
Before we go tonight, Nigeria says South Africa has agreed to bring justice to those responsible for attacks on foreign nationals. Welcome to the program. We're live and interactive by the power of social media on all our social media platforms. At TV3 Ghana would really love to hear from you. Let's settle for the details.
In our first story, transport unions have suspended plans to increase public transport fares by 30% after holding crunch talks with the Minister of Transport. However, the unions warn the proposed hike will be implemented if fuel prices rise again in the next petroleum pricing window on August 1.
The decision to suspend the planned 30% transport fare increase follows a meeting between transport unions and the Ministry of Transport on Tuesday to address concerns over rising fuel prices and the increasing cost of vehicle spare parts. Drivers say these twin challenges have significantly increased the cost of operating and maintaining their vehicles. Petroleum prices have seen repeated upward adjustment in recent months, prompting transport operators to argue that they can no longer absorb the rising costs and must pass part of the burden onto commuters. However, after discussions with the Transport Minister, Joseph Bukari-Nikpe, the transport unions agreed to suspend the planned 30% fare increase. Deputy spokesperson for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, Samuel Amoa, justified the decision to suspend the proposed fare increase, but stressed that the reprieve is only temporary and will depend on development in the next fuel pricing window.
Where it has gotten to, the drivers are suffering. A driver will work at the close of the day, he will use all the money to go and buy fuel. They cannot make their sales. If car owners also don't meet their sales, it's difficult for them to also repair their vehicles, for the vehicles to come back on road because of the high cost of spare parts. So based on that, we propose that if government don't do anything about, the most especially the petroleum product, it's likely that we also come up with a fare increment of 30%.
He also emphasized that no official fare adjustment has been approved, urging drivers to refrain from charging unauthorized fares.
What I will tell my drivers right now is that transport fares has not been increased. We propose 30%, yes. Government says that we should hold on to see what will happen next. So every driver should remain calm. Nobody should go out there to go and increase transport fares.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Sia, is urging the government to introduce measures to cushion both transport operators and commuters against the impact of rising fuel prices.
I think the government should, as soon as possible, look at relaxing some of the margins or cutting some of the margins so that prices do not exceed 20 Ghana cedis per litre. That's one intervention within the short term that government could do between today or tomorrow. The other term in terms of the CTO side is to critically engage these CTOs so that the expected or estimated percentage that is likely going to be put on transport costs will not reach that far. I think that I've seen they proposing 30%. I think the government negotiates well and even gets 10% or 15%. It serves both the interests of the CTO and also serves the interests of commuters.
He noted that the next pricing window could impose severe hardship if nothing is done about the situation.
All the products are going to see higher increments beginning the first window of August, which starts on 1st August. Unfortunately for the Ghanaian petroleum consumers, we've seen the CD depreciate by about 1%. So whilst the Ghanaian petroleum consumer is faced by international hikes of the petroleum products, we are also challenged by the depreciation of the currency. So this makes it a double trouble.
With the next fuel pricing window expected on August 1, transport operators say any further increase in petroleum prices could trigger another review of transport fares, leaving commuters anxiously awaiting the outcome.
Now to another promise facing uncertainty. Education authorities remain optimistic about ending the double-track system in senior high schools with expanded school infrastructure nationwide. But education policy analyst Dr. Peter Pate insists the timeline is unrealistic and urges government to be clear with Ghanaians.
Government is banking on $300 million World Bank funds under the Star J project to expand infrastructure, 210 interventions, 10 new schools, and rehabilitation of 150 existing ones. However, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Pate NT, argues the 2-year target is not feasible.
We are in the middle of 2026. The World Bank facility has just been approved. So we are now going to do all those procurement activities, award contracts, and other things. But by the time you realize, we are almost in 2027. But of course, if the government is going to have other sources of funding to support this, then they might want to target the 2027. But listening to the Minister of Education and listening to the Minister of Finance, we think that the idea to end double track is solely based on this secondary education infrastructure expansion project, and therefore it's highly unrealistic that double track can end in 2027.
Meanwhile, Press Secretary to the Education Minister, Hashmin, dismisses the claim, insisting the plan is achievable.
It is not unrealistic. It is realistic. Very soon the procurement processes will start. You don't need much time to be able to renovate a school or upgrade some of the schools, because in some of the schools, the upgrade just need furniture. Getting the right contractors for it, procuring furniture shouldn't take a lot of time, and then renovating some of the schools too shouldn't also take that time. We are very optimistic that we will be able to work within the time frame to be able to end the double track as promised.
He says beyond infrastructure, the rollout includes teacher training, resources, and materials to guarantee quality secondary education. Beatrice Soa, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's now go to Parliament, where 5 members have reintroduced a bill seeking to amend the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, to prohibit individuals from declaring, accusing, naming or labelling another person as a witch. This law was first passed in July 2023, but did not receive a presidential assent and died with the 8th Parliament.
Beyond the primary target of making it a crime to label, accuse, or name another person as a witch, the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill is also geared towards outlawing the old practice of witch finders and witch doctors, while strengthening legal protection for victims of such allegations. Former President Akufo-Addo declined to assent to it when it was first passed by the 8th Parliament in July 2023, but it has made a comeback. There are fresh sponsors like Kwame Enyimadu, but it still has 5 legislators pushing it. Human rights and civil society groups have over the years been advocating for stronger legislations to protect victims and vulnerable groups against witchcraft accusations, which often and disproportionately target older women in parts of northern Ghana. It is expected that its passage and assent will help protect vulnerable groups from violence, discrimination, and other human rights abuses linked to witchcraft accusations.
There was a shortfall of revenue to the tune of 5 billion Ghana cedis upon all the 8 new taxes that the government puts in place in 2025.
MPs have started commenting on the mid-year budget review, with the minority accusing government of under-executing its budget by 30 billion cedis and not spending right.
This year, half-year expenditure is down by 31.3 billion Ghana cedis. Government is therefore not balancing the books, Mr. Speaker. They are is balancing the books by just not spending. And if spending is not spending at the right places, Mr. Speaker, capital expenditure saw a downward trend of 14.3 billion. Economic activity is not flourishing, and it will not help develop the economy. We are stifling growth by not spending in the right places.
This government, this minister, made promises of projects, jobs, and programs to the tune of 30 billion Ghana cedis, which it has not executed as at half year. Here now, what on I do go no? What's the young country that inflation 5%? No, where we marry? Appropriate scale for chrome to be antazi. Now inflation are performed. To which, Mr. Speaker, our mothers who sell in the market say they've seen what you are doing. You have sterilized all the money, so there's no money to execute demand.
The majority denied the assertions that government is not spending.
In 2017, they budgeted to raise 44.96 billion. They ended up by getting 41.25 billion, making a net unrealized revenue of 3.71 billion. In 2019, they budgeted to raise 58.91 billion. They only had 54.56 billion, making a loss of 4.34 billion. Atuforsen in 2025 spent 94.4%. On what grounds are you saying he's not spending? The scorecard for Dr. Atuforsen is reflected in price stability.
To road infrastructure now, and despite disruptions caused by the rainy season, work on the Chukwuliga-Sandema and the Chukwuliga-Chiana sections of government's Big Push Road project is progressing steadily. Well, during a verification visit, the Upper East correspondent Castro Senyala observed that the contractor, My10 Limited, is working on both road corridors, with efforts focused on delivering the infrastructure within the stipulated time.
The Chukwuliga-Sandema, Chukwuliga-Chiana roads are key transport corridors in the Upper East region. While the Chukwuliga-Sandema road links communities to Sandema, the commercial hub of the Bulsa area, the Chukwuliga-Chiana stretch connects communities to Katiu, Kayoro, Nakong, and parts of the Upper West region. Both roads play a vital role in boosting trade, agriculture, and the movement of people and goods. In November 2025, under the government's Big Push Road Infrastructure Program, an existing contract was repackaged and awarded to My10 Limited. The contract covers 10 kilometers of the 16-kilometer Chukwuliga-Sandema stretch and 24 kilometers of the Chukwuliga-Chiana road. A visit to the project sites showed significant progress. On the Chukwuliga-Sandema Big Push section, 7.3 kilometers have been completed up to the prime seal stage, while 3.5 kilometers have received the first seal. Final dressing works on the remaining 2.7 kilometers at the prime seal stage were also ongoing.
As of today, we've completed 10 kilometers. We've equally did our primer seal of 7.3 kilometers, and we did first seal of 3.15 kilometers. So we are actually doing final dressing so we can actually proceed with the remaining primer seal works.
On the 24-kilometer Chukwuliga-Chiana Big Push section, the contractor was seen working actively and has completed all earthworks and constructed 7 kilometers each of sub-base and drainage works.
As far as the earthworks are concerned, we are through with our formation. That is, we've built the road to formation level from kilometer 00 to the last kilometer, that is the 24.4. And then as far as the sub-base is concerned, we've done a total of 7 kilometers of sub-base.
As these roads remain critical to the socio-economic development of the area, calls for the Ministry of Roads and Highways and the Ghana Highway Authority to expedite their completion have intensified. The Upper East Regional Maintenance Manager of the Ghana Highway Authority, Engineer Samsudeen Issa, explained why the contractor is sometimes absent from sections of the project.
So the Chuchuga Sandema and Chuchuga Nakon together is one project. So per the contractor's program, sometimes he may be on the Chuchuga Sandema section, another time he may be on the Chuchuga Nakon section. But it's one project. So in the case where people do not see activities going on the Chuchuga Sandema section, they think that project has been abandoned. But no, it's the same project. At times per the program, he'll be here or there.
Residents of Sandema have staged several demonstrations over the years to demand action from successive governments. The municipal chief executive for Bulsa North, Solomon Akuti, appealed to residents to remain patient, assuring them that leaders in the area are working to ensure the road is completed.
MC for Bulsa North and then DC for Bulsa South, we are also working closely with our MPs. The MPs, they are to the top, working very seriously with the ministers to see how the road can be constructed. And I think they have been able to make a headway. So we are pleading with them that anytime they want to talk about the road, they should see how they can encourage us. They can say things that will also...
Castro Sinyala, TV3 News, Sandema and China.
And away from the Upper East region, Ghana and Gabon have signed 12 Memorandum of Understanding and Agreement for cooperation in areas spanning health, mining and mineral value addition, defense and security cooperation, among others. President John Mahama and his Gabonese counterpart, Brice Nguema, have pledged their commitment to democratic governance, regional peace and African integration.
President Brice Oligui Nguema arrived in Accra accompanied by senior Gabonese officials. The visit is expected to deepen the long-standing relations between Ghana and Gabon and strengthen cooperation across key sectors of mutual interest. After inspecting the Guard of Honor, Brice Nguema proceeded to the Jubilee House for the bilateral engagement. President Mahama and his Gabonese counterpart held a tete-a-tete meeting before leading official bilateral talks at the Jubilee House. The two leaders underscored the need for African communities to collectively shun and decisively address xenophobic attacks and all forms of discrimination that threatened the cohesion and shared progress of the continent.
To facilitate investment flows and create an enabling environment for businesses in both countries to collaborate in the areas of manufacturing, agribusiness, transport and logistics, infrastructure development, financial services, and value addition.
After the recent measures that were taken with respect to decisions that the French government took regarding scholarships for foreign students, and I think that it will be proper for us to look into this direction to see how universities here in Ghana can welcome our students. We cannot compromise the future of our youth and also the construction of our universities in Gabon, because scholarships fees in France have increased, and we have decided to redirect our youth to other African countries. It is the same training that is available in our fellow African countries, and I think that we can have discussions in this regard.
The discussions reviewed the current state of bilateral relations and explored new areas of cooperation beyond existing engagement. Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and the Gabonese Foreign Minister Marie Edith Dumbeneni signed on behalf of their respective countries. The visiting head of state later planted a symbolic tree at the lawns of the Jubilee House. Earlier, Brice Oligui Nguema visited the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Mausoleum, where he paid a glowing tribute to Ghana's first head of state, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The Gabonese head of state is in Ghana for a 3-day state visit at the invitation of the President John Dramani Mahama.
Away from diplomacy to a judicial milestone, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has noted that the government is due to issue its position on the Constitutional Review Committee report after a careful assessment. The Constitutional Review Committee report, which was submitted to the President in December 2025, is yet to be acted upon after 8 months.
Speaking at the 150th anniversary celebration of the country's Supreme Court, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, indicated that a constitutional review is not synonymous with altering legal provisions, but an exercise which reflects the demands of an evolving society. She maintained that government will soon assess and implement the recommendations from the report.
I'm pleased to state that government is carefully considering the committee's recommendations, and in keeping with our commitment to openness and constitutional governance, will issue a position paper setting out government's considered position. That constitutional reform must strengthen public confidence, deepen democratic accountability, and preserve the delicate balance upon which our constitutional order rests.
Reacting to the Constitutional Review report, Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni called for implementation of reforms which will increase confidence in constitutional institutions in the country.
Ultimately, constitutional reform is never about giving more power to institutions. It is about enabling institutions to serve the people better. That must always remain our guiding principle. The judiciary has never claimed perfection. No institution honestly can. There remains delays we must reduce. Processes we must simplify. Infrastructure we must improve. Technology we must continue to embrace. And public confidence we must continue to earn. Acknowledging these challenges is not a sign of institutional weakness. It is evidence of institutional maturity.
Former presidents of the National House of Chiefs and the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli Traditional Council, Togbi Afede the 14th, indicated that it was time to cap the appointment of Supreme Court justices.
One way to do it is to take a second look at the way we appoint our justices. From the beginning, they are made to be impartial. And also, the absence of an upper limit to a number, or the total number of Supreme Court judges that allows adding, and adding, satisfy political objectives.
The Grand Deba climaxed the month-long 150th anniversary celebrations of the Supreme Court. Lodi Rasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Well, today is World Hepatitis B Day, and thousands of babies remain at risk as hepatitis B birth dose vaccines are yet to be routinized into Ghana's immunization program, raising concerns that the country may miss its 2030 elimination target. Now, hepatitis B affects an estimated 10 to 15% of Ghanaians, with prevalence high among pregnant women, making it one of the country's most common infectious diseases. Yet it appears little attention is paid to its management. We will be speaking to the managers of the disease, but first let's take you through what the situation looks like. Its prevalence among pregnant women is about 8%, but this varies region by region. Among children under 5, the prevalence is less than 1%, and currently there's no national population-based screening program. What we have is a risk-based screening program. Now, hepatitis B screening is free for pregnant women, but treatment for viral hepatitis B is not covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme, and this has raised concerns. And we do understand that about 90% of babies infected during delivery go on to develop chronic hepatitis B. Let's speak to Dr. John Gerald Adibuka. He's Program Manager of the National Viral Hepatitis Control Program. Doc, thank you so much for your time. So first of all, given that there is a mother-to-child transmission carries a 90% chronic infection, why is it that hepatitis B birth dose vaccine has taken so long to be routinized in Ghana? Hello, Doc.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us. So I was asking that given that mother-to-child transmission carries a 90% risk of chronic infection, why is it that the hepatitis B birth dose vaccine has taken so long to be routinized in Ghana?
So some of the policies, WHO and as a country, some of the policies have been initiated gradually. So the first policy was the normal immunization, the routine immunization that we always give to the children after birth. The one at 6, 10, and 10 months and then 14 months. And we realized that with that one, children still get infection, and some people are still exposed. So for the studies that we have seen, WHO has seen that the best way to prevent it is to give hepatitis B birth dose. And that talk has begun. So many countries have initiated that move. And then Ghana started it last year. And that is why over the year, a lot of collaborations and discussions have come into play. And at the end, getting last month, Minister of Finance and then Minister of Health, I know you've heard about the Minister of Health talking about birth dose. They came together to sign a document for the birth dose. So actually, it has delayed. It's something that WHO has initiated and all countries are actually subscribed to it now. Towards the Minister of Health 2030.
Doc, how can pregnant women better protect their babies from hepatitis B?
The question is not clear.
I was asking how pregnant women can better protect their babies from hepatitis B.
First of all, you need to test to know whether you are positive or not. So any pregnant woman is now part of the policy. If you are pregnant and you go to the hospital, the best to during your antenatal care is to check for hepatitis B. If you test and you are positive, then you are educated, and then depending on the test results, you are put on treatment. There is treatment for hepatitis B. So when you see that your viral load is more than 2,000 or sometimes more than 20,000, they put you on medication so that the transmission rate is reduced. Aside the maternal, treating the mother, during birth, a lot of precautions are taking place. And then after birth, immediately, within 24 hours, the child is also given a birth dose. You can give the vaccine, and then you can also give the immunoglobulin if the mother is positive. But for those mothers who are not positive, usually because we've not yet introduced the birth dose, they take the normal routine vaccine. That is part of what we call the penta vaccine. So for you to reduce, you need to go through this, and then the risk of transmission to the child is also reduced.
Doc, thank you so much for your time. And Dr. John Gerald Adibuka, Program Manager, National Viral Hepatitis Control Program.
And now, Telecel Ghana is once again rewarding customer loyalty with the launch of this year's Telecel Mahete promo. The promo is offering over 5 million cedis in cash prizes, including daily, weekly and monthly grand prizes to make 3 customers millionaires over 4 months.
Telecel Ghana has officially launched the Telecel Mahete promo, its latest customer rewards campaign designed to appreciate loyal subscribers while attracting new customers. To participate, customers simply need to opt into the promotion and continue using eligible Telecel services. Every qualifying transaction increases their chances of winning, with regular recharges and bundle purchases counting as entries into the various prize draws. Director of Sales and Distribution at Telecel Ghana, Samuel Sapong, explains further.
The objective is to reward 12,000 customers within the country. Every day, 100 of our customers will be given 100 Ghana cedis. On a weekly basis, we're going to give 20,000 Ghana cedis across the regions. Every month, somebody is going to take away 1 million Ghana cedis. And this is just not one person. It's going to happen 3 consecutive times. In total, we're going to give away 5 million Ghana cedis.
To ensure transparency, the National Lottery Authority will oversee and conduct the daily, weekly and monthly prize draws.
The NLA, through the Caritas Lottery platform, is proud to provide regulatory oversight to ensure that the promotion is conducted fairly, transparently and with integrity. We commend Telecel Ghana for complying with regulatory requirements and rewarding its customers' loyalty.
Coming up, the weather forecast figures for the next 24 hours.
Weather News segment is brought to you by Syntex Tank.
Michael Obodu. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, has cautioned that Ghana's new 36-month non-bailout policy coordination instrument with the IMF faces serious political risk. Speaking to 3 Business following the completion of the extended credit facility, Jackson said there is a growing appetite for overspending, which could undermine the economic gains made under the IMF program.
The Policy Coordination Instrument, PCI, is designed to help government maintain macroeconomic stability and credibility with investors without new IMF funding.
And the risk is not just from within the ruling regime. It's from the public. It's from you and I. The unions say, if things are good, let us feel it in our pocket too. That is the risk. The risk is that even the opposition is crying out, but if you say things are good, why are you not spending? And that is the problem. That's the political risk. Election promises, wage pressures, subsidies. They say, electricity is going up, subsidize it. Fuel is going up, subsidize it. And all the different programs that are political. This is where we should be careful.
Partner and head of markets Kwame Sapombanie welcomed improved fiscal performance and the IMF program's completion, calling the proposed PCI a framework to sustain credibility, not another bailout.
The proposed reform agenda refocuses on fiscal governance, debt sustainability, monetary and exchange rate framework, financial sector stability, SOE governance, and inclusive growth. This continuity matters because Ghana's next phase will be judged less by stabilization but more by institutional execution and resilience.
Joe Jackson noted that without strict fiscal discipline, the country could easily slide back into economic trouble.
The important thing is that the government should stay in its space, be prudent with its finances, spend only money that it has, and encourage the private sector to do the investment to create the jobs, to do the investment to grow the economy, to do the investment to keep our cedi stable and interest rates low.
The $3 billion IMF bailout covered 39 months with a 10-year repayment period and a 5.5-year grace period before payments commence.
Now, economist Professor Godfrey Bobkin is urging the government to review Ghana's fiscal rules to create more room for borrowing to finance critical infrastructure, arguing that the country's long-term debt target could constrain economic growth. His call follows the introduction of a new fiscal responsibility rules under the Public Financial Management Amendment Act 2025.
The amended law requires government to reduce and maintain public debt at or below 45% of GDP by 2035. It also requires the government to maintain an annual primary surplus of at least 1.5% of GDP to support debt reduction and strengthen fiscal discipline. While government has reaffirmed its commitment to these fiscal targets, Professor Bobkin argues that the debt rule should be reviewed to provide greater fiscal space for investment in roads, energy, education, and other critical infrastructure. He was speaking at a post-media budget forum organized by the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
The 1.5% is in the law, is in the act. So that has to be amended for them to be able to do lower than that. Then also the 45% is in the law. So in order for us to increase that, we also need to amend that. And I think what all of us, journalists, the media, CSOs, we all have to do is that now we have created fiscal space, very expensive. How do we utilize that fiscal space for growth enhancing spending, so that for every cedi that we spend, every dollar that we spend, we get the highest value. That is where development will come from.
The president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Stefan Abbas Miezan, also criticized the government's failure to address the recent rise in fuel prices during the mid-year budget presentation, saying businesses continue to face mounting operating costs.
It was really, really disappointing, but it is also quite understanding. But it's understanding because of the geopolitics. But notwithstanding, we know that the government is trying to look at we actually refining our own crude, of which Centio and then Tor has been brought on board. We need to actually strengthen that so that at least benefit to the people can be realized.
Now, just 3 weeks after launching the Ride with Momo campaign, MTN Mobile Money Limited has presented rewards to the first 10 winning drivers who embraced mobile money payments in their daily operations. The campaign encourages drivers to accept Momo payments from passengers, helping reduce the challenges associated with carrying cash while promoting Ghana's digital payment ecosystem.
To qualify for the weekly rewards, drivers must receive at least 20 mobile money payments for rides within a week. Eligible participants automatically receive 1 gigabyte of data, with more than 500 drivers already benefiting from the incentive. Abdul Razak Ali is Chief Commercial and Operations Officer at Mobile Me Fintech Limited.
We'll be awarding another 20 within the cost of 2 weeks to go. The promo runs for 3 months, so every week there will be another 10 that we award going forward. There are also monthly prizes where the top driver or rider will receive 1,000 Ghana cedis, and then obviously there is a grand prize as well at the end of the promotion, which is in 3 months' time.
Senior Manager for FinTech Business Development at MTN Mobile Money, Charles Oseiowusu, says the campaign also seeks to give passengers greater flexibility in paying for transport services while rewarding drivers who adopt digital payments.
We are giving the opportunity for both the customer to be able to make payment with mobile money and also for the driver to be able to accept payment with mobile money.
Some beneficiaries gave their testimonials.
Yesterday I was there, then MTN called me, and I was even surprised. I wish it continues so that I'll be winning every week.
This is very safe, and when using the Momo tree, it's very safe compared to cash on you, because sometimes some people try to, ambush you on the way.
The Ride with Momo promotion runs until September 30.
Let's bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next is sports.
sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Ahead of Ghana's opening game at the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, Black Queens head coach Kimla Sherkigan has declared that they want to go all out and win the tournament. Meanwhile, midfielder Chantel Boy-Clocker says that the team are ready to take down Cape Verde. The Black Queens will open their campaign on Wednesday at the Moulay Rashid Stadium in Casablanca.
Team that can go all the way, but we also need to know that there are another like 6-7 teams or maybe potential 8 teams in this tournament that they are saying exactly the same thing, so they can also go the whole way. So we need to respect that fact, and we're having like 3 targets, I would say. One is to make the group stage. That of course will be the first one. The second goal is maybe in one way the biggest and most important, is to win the quarterfinal to qualify for the next upcoming World Cup. Over long term, that will be the most important, I would say. But and if we make that, I mean, then it's to go all the way. Then we will not just be happy with the bronze medal. Then we're going to do everything to make the final and then go for the gold. So I see everything in 3 steps, but we do it also with confidence, but also with respect for our opponents.
Tomorrow it's important. It's the start of the AFCON. Those girls were really excited. We've been waiting for it. I think we've prepared really well. We had a good time out here last year. So now we're prepared to come back, do our job, and we've gelled well as a team. We're coming together, we've put the training sessions in, as coach said, we've got a good fitness coach. He's put us through our paces, and we're ready to get going.
While still on the women's AFCON, Barbara Banda scored 4 times as Zambia opened their campaign with an incredible 6-0 victory over Egypt at the Rabat Olympic Stadium on Tuesday. Rachel Nachula gave Zambia the lead from the penalty spot in the 25th minute before Banda took control of the match after halftime. The Zambia captain converted another penalty in the 60th minute and struck again 3 minutes later to move the Copa Queens into a commanding 3-0 lead. Barbara Banda then completed her hat-trick in the 87th minute before substitute Enelis Firi added Zambia's 5th goal in the 2nd minute of extra time. The Orlando Pride striker then scored her 4th goal of the night in the 96th minute, completing a comprehensive victory for former Black Queens coach Nora Hoopla. Or in just a few minutes, there would be the second match in Group C with regards to the women's AFCON when we see Nigeria, who are 10-time champions, face Malawi. We can get updates of that on our social media handles. But before we go, former Real Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane has been confirmed as the head coach of the France national team. Didier Deschamps, France's longest-serving manager, ended his 14-year stint in charge after the nation's semi-final exit to Spain at the just-ended 2026 FIFA World Cup. Zidane, a World Cup winner with France in 1998, has been out of management since leaving Real Madrid for a second time as head coach in 2021. The 54-year-old, widely considered to be France's greatest player ever, will sign a contract that will see him lead the nation through the 2030 World Cup qualifiers. Well, that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
Good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, award-winning television and film screenwriter and producer Aaron Rasan Thomas believes the greatest success of any project is not the money it generates, but the legacy it leaves behind. In an exclusive conversation with 3 Entertainment's Natalie Barr, the SWAT creator said while financial returns are essential to bringing stories to life, creators should always prioritize producing work that makes a lasting emotional and cultural impact.
It feels very nice to have a hit TV series, but it feels nice from the standpoint of the amount of work that goes into creating anything that resonates with an audience. If you're fortunate enough to have something that resonates, I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to employ thousands of artists to work on this project. I'm very, very proud of the fact that we found an audience who loved the show enough to tune in, to support us.
The award-winning American television and film screenwriter and producer Aaron Rasan Thomas believes stories often outlive civilizations, serving as powerful reminders of history long after monuments and nations have disappeared. Speaking exclusively to 3 Entertainment's Natalie Barr, the SWAT creator said while financial returns are important, storytellers have a great responsibility to create a work that leaves a lasting emotional and cultural impact.
When we talk about the top priorities for any creative project, certainly there's always been the marriage between art and commerce. So money is necessary in order to make things on a certain scale. But ultimately the legacy of the art is the emotional and cultural impact that it leaves. I'm a firm believer in the stories are the things that carry on. Even once nations are finished, once architecture is crumbled, it's the stories that we remember from many, many years ago, from thousands of years ago. It's the stories that resonate. So ultimately, that's more important than anything, is what is the impact that we're leaving culturally? What do we have to say about the times that we live in? Because there may be generations years from now who look to our stories to get a sense of what's going on right now.
However, Thomas emphasized that meaningful storytelling must also entertain audiences to truly resonate, adding that striking the right balance between purpose, entertainment, and the financial resources needed to bring stories to life is what ultimately creates a lasting legacy.
Yeah. So that's a tremendous responsibility. But of course, you need to do it in a way that is also entertaining, otherwise it won't resonate. So it's doing both of those things with the help of finances to make it possible.
Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. On the international front, Nigeria says South Africa has agreed to bring justice to those responsible for attacks on foreign nationals. Abuja says it is compiling compensation claims for losses suffered by Nigerians as both countries pledge to tone down rhetoric over violence. The commitment followed talks in Abuja between Nigeria's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and South Africa's International Relations Minister, aimed at easing tensions sparked by attacks on Nigerian nationals in South Africa. South African vigilante groups have repeatedly targeted foreign African nationals and looted migrant-owned businesses in recent months.
We're grateful that you spent the last hour with us on News360. But those where we draw the curtains, there's more news on our website, 3news.com. I am Noble Crossby-Allen.
And I am Portia Gabodu. Join Beatrice Edu at 9 p.m. for Agenda. Good evening.